Finding survival games that truly challenge your skills without feeling repetitive or unfair can be tough, especially when time is limited and distractions are plentiful. If you've been frustrated by survival games that either overwhelm you or fail to keep you engaged, this list is here to solve that. Before we jump into the video, if you enjoy content like this, please hit that subscribe button. Your support genuinely motivates me to keep creating these in-depth videos and share hidden gaming treasures with you. It means a lot and helps the channel grow so I can keep bringing you even more great content. Thank you. Then, without wasting more time, let's get into the video. Starting off strong with The Forest, a game that will challenge both your survival instincts and your sanity. You play as a plane crash survivor stranded on a mysterious island. At first, daytime feels almost peaceful, chopping trees, building a shelter, crafting tools, but once night falls, the real horror begins. The island is inhabited by cannibalistic mutants who aren't mindless enemies. They're observant, adaptive, and disturbingly intelligent. They'll linger at the tree line, watching you, studying your movements, and even learning where you've built your base. On my first playthrough, I thought I was safe in a small cabin by the beach until I woke up to find handprints smeared across the walls and body parts hanging from nearby trees. These creatures had been studying me the entire time. What makes The Forest remarkable is its balance between survival mechanics and psychological horror. You're not just managing hunger and thirst, you're fighting a constant mental battle. The crafting system is both accessible and rewarding. Want armor? You'll need to skin your enemies. Looking for stronger weapons? You'll have to descend into the island's claustrophobic, nightmare-inducing caves filled with grotesque creatures that will haunt you long after. Multiplayer co-op amplifies the tension. Few things create stronger bonds than hearing your friends scream over voice chat as a spider-like mutant drags them into the shadows. The building system allows for everything from simple shelters to sprawling fortresses, and you'll need every defensive measure you can imagine to withstand what's out there. But perhaps the most compelling part of The Forest is its story. This isn't just another survival on an island scenario. A deeper, sinister mystery unfolds as you progress, revealed through masterful environmental storytelling. Without spoiling anything, the ending is unforgettable, one that lingers with you long after the credits roll. If you've never experienced true thalassophobia, fear of the deep ocean, Subnautica will introduce you to it real quick. This underwater survival masterpiece drops you on an alien ocean planet where literally everything wants you dead, and your only lifeline is a tiny escape pod bobbing on the surface. The genius of Subnautica is how it uses the unknown. In most survival games, you can see threats coming. Here, that shadow moving beneath you could be a harmless fish or leviathan that'll swallow you whole. The first time you hear a Reaper leviathan's roar echoing through the water, your blood will freeze. These things are the size of blue whales with the temperament of a honey badger. Base building underwater is unlike anything else in gaming. You're not just placing walls, you're managing hull integrity, power systems, and air supply. Build too deep too fast and your base implodes. Forget to reinforce properly and you're swimming with the fishes permanently. The progression system forces you deeper and deeper into increasingly hostile biomes, each one more terrifying than the last. What hooked me completely was the resource management. Everything you need is out there, but getting it requires venturing into territories that'll test your nerves. Need lithium? Better head to the mushroom forest where stalkers patrol. Want rare materials? Time to explore the deep trenches where things get really spicy. The story unfolds through environmental clues and audio logs, painting a picture of what happened to this planet and why you're really here. The pacing is perfect. Just when you think you've got a handle on the world, it introduces something that makes you question everything. And that ending sequence? Pure cinematic gold. But honestly, the real star here is the atmosphere. The sound design is so good that you'll find yourself holding your breath during tense moments. When your oxygen alarm starts beeping and you're 200 meters down with no base in sight, your heart will actually race. Raft takes the concept of minimal starting resources to the absolute extreme. You begin with literally nothing but a few pieces of wood floating in an endless ocean, armed only with a plastic hook to grab debris floating by. It sounds simple, but this game will absolutely consume you. The hook is your lifeline. Everything you need comes from the ocean debris stream, but timing is everything. Miss that plank of wood and it's gone forever. This creates a constant tension where you're always scanning the horizon, always ready to sprint across your raft to snag that crucial resource. It's oddly meditative yet stressful at the same time. What makes Raft special is the progression. You start on a 2x2 platform, but before you know it, you're commanding a floating fortress complete with multiple floors, crop plots, research stations, and defense systems. The building system is incredibly flexible. I've seen players create everything from pirate ships to modern yachts to floating cities. And then there's Bruce. Bruce, the shark. This guy is relentless. He'll constantly circle your raft, taking chunks out of it if you're not paying attention. You can't kill him permanently, he's basically a living timer forcing you to stay active. The tension of hearing those jaws snap while you're trying to dive for resources underwater never gets old. But the real game changer is multiplayer. Playing with friends transforms Raft from a survival game into a floating society simulator. Someone's gotta work the nets, someone's managing the farm, someone's fending off Bruce. The coordination required creates these amazing emergent moments where you're all scrambling during a storm, trying to save your floating home. The story mode they added takes you to mysterious islands with their own unique challenges and lore. These destinations break up the ocean monotony perfectly and introduce new mechanics and resources. Each island feels handcrafted with its own personality and dangers. Green Hell is survival gaming at its most brutal and realistic. Set in the Amazon rainforest, this game doesn't just challenge your resource management, it challenges your sanity. Developer Creepy Jar created something that feels more like a survival simulator than a traditional game, and it's absolutely incredible. The psychological element sets Green Hell apart immediately. Your character starts experiencing hallucinations and mental breaks that directly affect gameplay. You might see threats that aren't there or miss real dangers because your mind is fracturing. The notebook system forces you to actually learn survival techniques, no hand-holding here. You need to genuinely understand how to make fire, purify water, and treat injuries. Crafting in Green Hell requires actual knowledge. You can't just click a recipe, you need to understand why certain combinations work. The game teaches you real survival skills through trial and error. I actually learned legitimate techniques for building shelter and identifying edible plants. It's educational in the most hardcore way possible. The injury system is incredibly detailed and sometimes gruesome. Get a cut and it can become infected. Break a bone and you're limping for days unless you treat it properly. Eat the wrong mushroom and you're hallucinating while your health slowly drains. The game forces you to become a wilderness medic whether you want to or not. What really impressed me was the environmental storytelling. The rainforest feels alive and hostile. Every sound could signal danger. That rustling in the bushes might be a harmless bird or a jaguar ready to end your run. The day-night cycle creates genuine dread as predators become more active after dark. The story mode adds structure to the brutal survival mechanics, giving you clear objectives while maintaining the hardcore difficulty. The voice acting and narrative are surprisingly compelling, dealing with themes of guilt, redemption, and human nature. It's deeper than most survival games dare to go. Valheim exploded onto the scene, and for good reason. It's the perfect blend of survival mechanics and Norse mythology that creates pure gaming magic. This Viking-themed adventure nails the feeling of being a legendary warrior, earning your place in the afterlife, one epic adventure at a time. The progression system is absolutely addictive. You start punching trees and dodging wild boar, but within hours, you're sailing across dangerous seas in a longship you built with your own hands. Each biome introduces new challenges, resources, and boss fights that fundamentally change how you play. The difficulty curve is perfectly balanced, challenging but never unfair. Base building in Valheim is incredibly satisfying because of the structural integrity system. You can't just stack walls infinitely, you need to understand real architectural principles. Building a proper Viking hall requires planning, engineering, and artistic vision. The feeling of completing a massive construction project with friends is unmatched. But the real magic happens when you venture beyond the starting meadows. The Black Forest introduces trolls that'll demolish your base if you're unprepared. The swamp biome is a poison-filled nightmare that tests your gear and resolve. Each new area feels like discovering a new game entirely, with unique mechanics and strategies required for survival. The sailing system deserves special mention. Navigating by landmarks and managing wind direction creates this authentic exploration feeling that most games can't match. Getting caught in a storm while transporting valuable cargo back to base creates genuine tension. And when sea serpents attack your ship in the middle of the ocean, pure adrenaline. Co-op multiplayer transforms Valheim into something special. Up to 10 players can share a world, creating these amazing collaborative experiences. Someone's mining iron, someone's tending the farm, someone's exploring new continents. The shared progression creates investment that keeps groups playing together for months. Rust isn't just a survival game, it's a psychological experiment disguised as a multiplayer experience. This is where survival mechanics meet human nature, and the results are both fascinating and terrifying. If you want to understand what people are really like when civilization breaks down, play Rust. You spawn naked on a beach with nothing but a rock and a torch. Within hours, you could be running a thriving compound with automated defenses, or you could be a paranoid hermit hiding in the woods. The social dynamics that emerge naturally are incredible. Alliances form and dissolve, trade routes develop, and wars break out over resources. It's like watching human civilization speedrun itself. The base building system is incredibly deep but unforgiving. Structural integrity matters, but so does base design from a PvP perspective. You're not just building shelter, you're designing a fortress to withstand both environmental hazards and human raiders. The raid mechanics mean nowhere is truly safe, creating this constant underlying tension. What makes Rust unique is the complete lack of safe spaces. Some players are friendly traders, others are ruthless bandits. That person offering to help might genuinely want to assist you, or they might be leading you into an ambush. The proximity voice chat creates these amazing impromptu interactions that range from hilarious to terrifying. The progression wipes every month or so on most servers, which sounds frustrating but actually creates this perfect gameplay loop. Each wipe is a fresh start, where early advantages matter more than accumulated wealth. The best Rust players aren't those with the most hours, they're the ones who understand human psychology and game systems. Resource management extends beyond traditional survival elements to include reputation and relationships. Being known as trustworthy opens doors that gear alone cannot. Being feared can be just as valuable as being liked. The metagame of server politics becomes as important as your aiming skills or base design. The Long Dark strips survival gaming down to its absolute core elements and does something most games can't. It makes you feel genuinely alone. This isn't about fighting monsters or building massive bases. This is about you versus the Canadian wilderness in the aftermath of a mysterious geomagnetic disaster, and it's absolutely haunting. The atmosphere in The Long Dark is unmatched. The visual style uses this beautiful, painted aesthetic that makes the frozen wasteland feel both beautiful and deadly. But it's the audio design that really gets you. The wind howling through abandoned buildings, the crack of ice beneath your feet, the distant howl of wolves, it all combines to create this oppressive sense of isolation. Resource management here is pure survival. Every decision matters because resources are finite and there's no respawning gear. That can of food might save your life tomorrow, or you might need those matches to start a fire tonight. The weight system forces brutal choices about what's worth carrying versus what you need to leave behind. The wildlife AI is phenomenally realistic. Wolves hunt in packs with actual pack behavior, bears are territorial and incredibly dangerous, but avoidable if you understand their patterns. Even rabbits and deer behave realistically, making hunting a skill-based challenge rather than a simple point-and-click exercise. What really sets The Long Dark apart is how it handles the passage of time. Weather systems can trap you indoors for days, forcing you to burn through supplies while waiting for conditions to improve. The day-night cycle isn't just cosmetic. Your survival strategies completely change based on available light and temperature. The story mode, Wintermute, adds structure with compelling characters and a mystery that unfolds across the frozen landscape. But honestly, the survival sandbox mode is where this game shines brightest. Every run tells its own story of triumph or failure, and death feels meaningful because of the investment required to survive even a few days. Grounded takes the survival formula and flips it completely by shrinking you down to the size of an ant in someone's backyard. What could have been a gimmicky concept instead becomes one of the most creative and polished survival experiences available, with mechanics that work specifically because of the unique perspective. The scale shift changes everything about traditional survival gameplay. A simple garden sprinkler becomes a dangerous hazard. Ants are neutral NPCs you can befriend or fight. Spiders are absolutely terrifying boss encounters that require preparation and strategy. Even something as simple as a juice box becomes a massive landmark you can build inside of. Base building works differently when you're tiny. You're not clearing forests, you're working around existing structures. That flower stem makes an excellent foundation. Those acorns provide both food and construction materials. The verticality available in this miniature world creates building opportunities that larger-scale games simply can't offer. Combat feels weighty and deliberate despite your tiny size. Different insects require different strategies and equipment. Ladybugs are friendly unless provoked. Soldier ants are aggressive but manageable. Wolf spiders will hunt you across the entire yard and require serious preparation to take down. The variety keeps combat encounters fresh throughout your playthrough. The progression system is excellent, with each tier of equipment opening new areas to explore. Better armor lets you venture into the sandbox. Advanced tools allow you to harvest tougher materials. New weapons make previously impossible fights manageable. The pacing never feels grindy because each upgrade meaningfully changes your capabilities. What really impressed me was the attention to detail. The backyard feels like a real space that existed before you arrived. Environmental storytelling suggests what happened to shrink you and why you're here. The seasonal updates continue adding content and expanding the world in meaningful ways. Astroneer proves that survival games don't need to be grimdark or punishing to be engaging. This colorful space exploration adventure focuses on wonder and discovery rather than constant death and resource scarcity, creating a uniquely relaxing survival experience that's perfect for players who want something different. The core gameplay loop revolves around planetary exploration and resource extraction. Each planet has unique biomes, resources, and challenges. The terrain deformation system lets you literally reshape entire landscapes, creating custom mining operations, transportation routes, or artistic projects. It's incredibly satisfying to tunnel through a mountain or create a massive quarry. Base building integrates seamlessly with the exploration mechanics. Your bases aren't just shelters, they're industrial complexes with power generation, resource processing, and manufacturing capabilities. The modular system encourages experimentation and expansion. Watching your humble starting habitat grow into a sprawling operation feels incredibly rewarding. The co-op multiplayer is fantastic because there's no competitive element. Everyone benefits from shared progress and resources. Players naturally specialize. Someone focuses on power generation while another explores distant planets for rare materials. The shared accomplishments create genuine teamwork rather than forced cooperation. What sets Astroneer apart is the sense of wonder it maintains throughout. Discovering a new planet never gets old because each world feels genuinely alien and beautiful. The art style walks this perfect line between realistic and fantastical. Even dangerous situations like getting caught in a storm or running out of oxygen feel more like challenges to overcome than punishments for mistakes. The crafting system encourages experimentation rather than following rigid recipes. You research new technologies by feeding unknown items into your research station, creating this constant cycle of exploration, discovery, and technological advancement. It feels more like being a space pioneer than a survivor struggling against hostile forces. Conan Exiles brings the brutal world of Conan the Barbarian to survival gaming, and it doesn't pull any punches. This is survival in the Hyborian Age, where slavery, human sacrifice, and ancient gods are just part of daily life. It's definitely not for everyone, but for players who want their survival with a heavy dose of sword and sorcery brutality, it's unmatched. The world design immediately establishes the tone. You start crucified in the desert, saved only by Conan himself cutting you down. From there, you're thrust into a landscape of ancient ruins, forgotten cities, and supernatural horrors. The environmental storytelling is incredible. Every location has a story told through visual details and atmospheric design. Combat sets Conan Exiles apart from other survival games. This isn't just about managing hunger meters. You're learning sword techniques, archery skills, and magic spells. The weapon variety is enormous, from simple clubs to legendary artifacts with supernatural powers. Each weapon type has its own moveset and requires different tactics. The thrall system is controversial but thematically appropriate. You can capture NPCs and break them on the Wheel of Pain to serve as workers, crafters, or guards for your base. It adds strategic depth because different thralls have different specializations and effectiveness levels. Base building emphasizes both aesthetics and defense. You're not just building shelter, you're creating temples, throne rooms, torture chambers, and defensive fortifications. The building pieces allow for incredible architectural diversity, from simple desert outposts to massive ziggurats that rival the game's pre-built structures. The religion system adds another layer by letting you choose patron deities who grant different abilities and building options. Each god has unique avatars, massive supernatural beings you can summon to destroy enemy bases. Watching a giant snake god demolish someone's fortress never gets old. SCUM pushes survival realism to almost absurd levels, and I mean that in the best possible way. This isn't just about managing health and hunger. You're managing metabolism, muscle mass, vitamin deficiencies, and even your character's bathroom schedule. It sounds tedious, but the depth creates incredibly engaging gameplay for players who want true simulation. The character progression system is unlike anything else in gaming. Your skills actually affect your character's physical appearance and capabilities. Focus on strength training and your character visibly builds muscle mass, but becomes slower and requires more calories. Train intelligence and your character gets better at crafting and hacking, but might lose physical capabilities. Every choice has meaningful trade-offs. Combat feels weighty and consequential because of the detailed damage system. Different ammunition types have realistic effects on different armor types. Injuries affect movement and accuracy. Getting shot in the leg actually makes you limp. Getting knocked unconscious means other players can perform medical procedures on you, or worse things depending on the server population. The crafting system requires actual knowledge and preparation. You can't just click a recipe button, you need the right tools, materials, and sometimes even the proper skill levels. Making advanced items requires understanding real-world manufacturing processes. It's complex enough that dedicated crafters become valuable community members. Base building integrates with the simulation aspects perfectly. You need proper food storage to prevent spoilage. You need adequate power generation for advanced equipment. You need security systems because other players can and will steal everything you own. The detail level makes every design decision meaningful. What really sets SCUM apart is the community that forms around these complex systems. Players naturally specialize and create interdependent relationships. The learning curve is steep, but veterans are usually happy to teach newcomers because everyone benefits from a thriving server population. Don't Starve is the survival game that proves you don't need realistic graphics to create genuine tension and dread. This hand-drawn nightmare from Clay Entertainment takes the survival formula and twists it into something beautifully disturbing that'll keep you coming back even after it crushes your dreams repeatedly. The art style immediately sets Don't Starve apart from every other survival game. It looks like a Tim Burton movie come to life with this twisted children's book aesthetic that makes everything simultaneously charming and unsettling. But don't let the cartoonish appearance fool you. This game is absolutely ruthless and will punish every mistake you make. What makes Don't Starve brilliant is how it subverts your expectations constantly. You think you've figured out a reliable food source? The seasons change and everything dies. Found a great base location? Turns out you built next to something that wants to murder you at night. The game is constantly teaching you through failure, and somehow that makes success feel incredibly rewarding. The sanity system is genius and unlike anything else in survival gaming. As your mental health deteriorates, you start seeing things that may or may not be real. Shadow creatures begin stalking you, and the line between hallucination and actual threat becomes terrifyingly blurred. Managing your character's mental state becomes just as important as managing hunger and health. The seasonal cycle creates this perfect difficulty progression that keeps every playthrough fresh. Spring floods can destroy your carefully planned base. Summer heatwaves can spontaneously combust your supplies. Winter will straight up kill you if you're not prepared. Each season requires completely different survival strategies and preparation, but the real magic happens in the character selection. Each survivor has unique abilities and drawbacks that fundamentally change how you play. Wilson grows a beard for insulation. Willow is immune to fire damage but goes insane in the dark, and Wolfgang becomes incredibly strong when well fed. Every character creates a different gameplay experience while maintaining the core survival challenge. DayZ is the godfather of survival gaming, and despite its troubled development history, it remains one of the most intense and unpredictable multiplayer experiences available. This post-apocalyptic zombie survival simulator creates emergent stories that you literally cannot experience in any other game. The magic of DayZ lies in its complete lack of safety nets. Death is permanent, progress can be lost in seconds, and every human encounter could go any direction. That person approaching with their hands up might genuinely need help, or they might be planning to rob you the moment you let your guard down. The tension never disappears because the stakes are always real. Survival mechanics go beyond basic needs to include blood loss, infection, hypothermia, and complex medical conditions. Getting sick requires proper diagnosis and treatment. Injuries can become infected if not properly cared for. The medical system is deep enough that some players specialize as combat medics, providing valuable services to other survivors. The zombie threat creates this constant background pressure that affects every decision. They're attracted to noise, so firing a gun brings risks beyond just revealing your position to other players. Large zombie hordes can form in populated areas, creating dynamic obstacles that change based on player activity and server events. What keeps me coming back to DayZ after all these years is the human element. Every life tells a different story. Maybe you become a helpful medic, maybe a ruthless bandit, maybe a hermit avoiding all human contact. The game doesn't judge your choices. It just presents consequences and lets you live with them. The modding community has kept DayZ fresh with custom maps, new mechanics, and themed servers. Whether you want vanilla hardcore survival or modified experiences with traders and custom bases, there's a server that matches your preferred playstyle. Frostpunk takes survival gaming in a completely different direction by making you responsible for an entire city's survival rather than just your own. This society survival game asks the question, what would you sacrifice to keep humanity alive in an endless winter? The answers are more disturbing than you might expect. The resource management operates on multiple levels simultaneously. You're managing coal, food, steel, and wood like any city builder, but you're also managing hope, discontent, and the moral compass of your society. Every law you pass to ensure survival might compromise the humanity you're trying to preserve. It's brilliant and horrifying. The tech tree forces impossible choices between survival and morality. Do you research more efficient heating or better medical facilities? Do you allow child labor to increase productivity or maintain education to preserve hope for the future? Every advancement comes with ethical implications that affect your society's development. The scenario design is masterful, presenting crisis situations where there are no good choices, only different kinds of terrible ones. When food runs low, do you ration equally and watch everyone slowly starve, or give priority to workers and let the sick die faster? When the generator fuel runs low, do you send children into dangerous mines or watch the city freeze? What makes Frostpunk special is how it uses survival mechanics to explore themes about leadership, sacrifice, and the price of civilization. You'll make decisions that would appall you in real life but seem necessary within the game's context. It's a mirror that shows what we might become when survival is on the line. The expansions and scenarios provide different perspectives on the same themes. Playing as different factions with different starting conditions and goals keeps the experience fresh while maintaining the core tension between survival and humanity. No Man's Sky has transformed from one of gaming's biggest disappointments to one of its most impressive redemption stories. This infinite universe exploration game now delivers on virtually every promise made during its controversial launch, creating a survival experience that's literally unlimited in scope. The procedural generation creates genuinely unique experiences on each of the quintillions of planets available to explore. Every world has different weather, terrain, flora, fauna, and resources. Some planets are toxic hellscapes that kill you in minutes. Others are paradise worlds where you could happily build a permanent base. The variety ensures exploration never gets stale. Base building has evolved into an incredibly powerful system that works seamlessly across planetary and space-based construction. You can build underwater cities, floating sky platforms, massive industrial complexes, or simple aesthetic monuments. The sharing system lets you visit other players' creations, creating this amazing collaborative universe. The multiplayer features transform the experience without overwhelming solo players. You can seamlessly join friends for cooperative exploration, participate in community events that affect the entire universe, or just encounter random players during your travels. The social features feel natural rather than forced. What impresses me most is the continuous development. Each major update fundamentally expands the game in meaningful ways. They've added vehicles, pets, settlements, expeditions, and even full multiplayer missions. The developers clearly view this as a living universe that grows and evolves over time. The survival mechanics work perfectly within the exploration framework. Resource gathering drives you to explore new worlds. Technology upgrades enable access to previously impossible environments. The progression creates this perfect loop where survival needs motivate exploration, which reveals new possibilities for advancement. And that's a wrap on the best survival games you can play right now. Each of these games tests your skills, patience, and strategy in unique ways, putting you in situations where every decision matters. If you're ready to face the challenge, pick one, dive in, and see how long you can survive. Which survival game is your favorite, or is there a hidden gem we missed? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your picks. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more game recommendations and guides. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.